Yeah, I didn't like it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did not. Once that happens, all the opinions are put on the table. You got to make a different choice. At the moment that you knew everybody was serious and you thought Joe was indifferent to it, that's when you get up. I get not wanting to get punked or herbed for the seat, as you put it. I get not wanting to look like you're getting played out or like you the little guy, the new guy that's being treated like a fish. So I get all of that. But at the moment that you realize people just feel a way about it, you should get up. And the thing is, I'm not saying Ish felt the way. I'm saying I felt the way, Mona felt the way, Flip felt the way, Minus felt the way. Everybody who said they felt the way felt the way. I'm not speaking for nobody else. These are people who spoke for themselves.
But yo, I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't know this was going to become the Montgomery bus boycott or something. Like, people are turning it into a thing. Like, you remember when I've been on it for 5 weeks, right? And the first day, I sat in that spot.
You can't do that. I'm saying I didn't have an issue with B. Dot not understanding that it wasn't a joke. I didn't have an issue with him being unclear and all that. I'm Gucci with. What I'm saying is, at the moment that when he said like, yo, but at some point I realized, oh, these serious. I'm saying at that moment is the moment you get up. This is my opinion. If you're talking about professionalism, I just think like read the room a little bit. In that moment, you know what I mean? And we've all failed to read the room. When you're a guest, you sit in the seat of whoever you're filling in for.
Hold up. B. Dot has been going at members of the Joe Budden Podcast. And listen, it's not just happening on the show. It's spilling over into the Twitter community tied to Joe Budden too. For those who don't know, there's a whole Twitter space where fans link up weekly for live audio conversations. And yeah, B. Dot has been popping in, which makes things interesting because it almost feels like bonus content outside the podcast. It's basically like tapping into JBTV after hours, which is what that Twitter community runs under. And lately, B. Dot's been throwing shots at different cast members, but he's not the only voice in the mix. You've also got Marc Lamont Hill speaking up as well. And if you remember, B. Dot already stirred things up before when he refused to give up his seat to Ish. Now let's be real, that seat has been Ish's spot for years, but this time, B. Dot showed up early and decided he was claiming it for himself.
Yo, whose seat it is?
Oh,
it feel like jail.
Hey, I wouldn't take my man's spot.
Guys get first.
B-Dot don't even look like he did.
No, I've been here for 5 years.
I mean,
I got it this morning.
B-Dot don't look like he
No, he said flip a coin.
I don't know.
Stay there. Throw his shit.
Yo, no. Stay there, that's worse.
If you come in late, a nigga can sit in your seat.
I wouldn't think so. Very seldom.
Seldom and never is two totally different things. On the days that you are late, a nigga can sit in your seat.
But then you're sitting in the seat.
It's crazy.
It's a good seat, man.
Yeah, you know why? Because somebody has made it a good seat. And then the brother came over respectfully.
Right.
Said, excuse me.
Oh, he didn't say that.
He said, excuse me, King.
Ish was clearly heated. And hold up, I first thought this whole thing might be COE from everyone except him. But listen, Marc Lamont Hill even jumped into spaces saying he wasn't feeling what B. Dot did. You could tell Mark saw it as straight up unprofessional to take a longtime cast member's seat like that. From what I've been watching though, it feels like B. Dot low-key thinks everyone else on the panel is beneath him, except Joe Budden. And yeah, I think that mindset comes from him being a journalist. Because let's be real, some hip-hop media journalists move like they're the face of the culture, like they're the final authority on everything. Now hold up, another thing B. Dot did in those JBTV audio rooms was go straight at Queen's Flip. Recently, Flip posted some wild photos in the woods, and yeah, the look definitely had people talking. You already know Flip's fashion is always loud and different, almost more Harlem energy than Queen's. But listen to this, B. Dot didn't hold back and straight roasted him for it. He basically said it was one of the worst outfits he's ever seen and clowned him heavy. So yeah, B. Dot is speaking freely with zero filter, and now we gotta see if that comes back on him. Now back to Mark versus B. Dot, because things got even messier. One wild moment was when B. Dot straight up called Mark a panderer out loud. And if you know Mark, you know that's one label he really hates. So yeah, in one breath, Mark is criticizing B. Dot for the seat situation, and in the next, B. Dot is firing back at him over narratives. But hold up, we can't ignore one key voice here, Joe Budden. B. Dot even said he looked Joe in the eye expecting him to step in, and Joe did absolutely nothing. And I've said this before, I think people assume Joe is always aggressive, but that's only when things explode. When it comes to managing tension in the moment, he kinda just lets it play out. Truth is, he might actually prefer it that way because tension brings views and keeps the show lit. And honestly, that unpredictability is what separates his podcast from others in hip-hop media. It feels more like the Howard Stern show than the Breakfast Club. You never know when things might go left. And the craziest part? You can't always tell what's real and what's just for content. After covering this space for years, I've seen people argue that everything is staged. But the truth is, it's hard to tell what's genuine for some cast members and what's just entertainment for others. Me personally, I think that seat situation really shook things up, and Marc even told fans that directly in those spaces. But let me ask you, do you think this is actually a good direction for the show? Because I've been saying it, people might turn on B-Dot sooner or later. He gives off that know-it-all vibe, and that can rub people the wrong way quick. Honestly, he might even end up making Marc look more relatable by comparison. Watching him, I started thinking, I see why things didn't work with Elliott Wilson. Both come off a little too elite, like they're above everyone else in hip-hop media. And that energy is definitely shaking up the dynamic on the Joe Budden podcast right now. He's disrupting the structure, and yeah, it's creating some really interesting moments early on. But we still got to see what the long-term fallout looks like, especially between the older crew like Ice and the newer addition B-Dot. Now I'll be real, B-Dot has actually been solid so far. He brings a different layer to the show that was kind of missing. It almost feels like a return to Rory and Mal era, where music breakdowns actually mattered. Because ever since Rory left, that deep music analysis kind of disappeared. Rory really studied music, while Ice never gave that same vibe. Ice's takes always felt surface level, like he wasn't fully tapped in as a music head. And now you're starting to see why his role feels reduced a bit. I don't even know if it's a demotion, but it's clear the show needed more depth and research. And while B-Dot might not bring crazy energy, he definitely brings homework and insight. He's even been popping up on shows like Angela Yee's platform, talking about his experience so far.
I first came on the show, I sat in that same spot. Ish wasn't there. So I've been consistently been there for like the last 3-4 weeks. No, but I just asked him, like, do you want me to sit here or do you want me to sit somewhere else? And Joe seemed indifferent about it. So I was really comfortable and I felt like the podcast Rosa Parks, man.
And hold up, that's another thing the Joe Budden Podcast really thrives on. They actually love when people come on the show and then go discuss it elsewhere. Listen to this. That's something you don't see often from their regular cast. Take Ice, for example. He's cool with Joe, but that dynamic plays a role. Most of the interviews he does are with smaller platforms. And let's be real, that doesn't really push the show's visibility like that. Then you've got Marc Lamont Hill in the mix. I do think he respects his time on the podcast, but you won't believe this. I don't think he even sees the Joe Budden Podcast as the main thing he's focused on right now.